What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. I don't know where Lee's gone, and I don't know what that noise is, but we are here back with last word on Spurs. A bit of a delayed start here, but we are here with our weekly show, our new weekly show with Ricky and Lee. Very excited to bring it to you. So, Ricky, Lee, we'll start with you, Ricky. How are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, guys, lovely to see you. Always lovely to see you. Just a shame it's not in better circumstances. I spoke to you guys a week or so ago. What did I say to you? I said I wanted to see a performance after that result against Manchester United where it follows up and gives us a really good platform to really kick on after the international break. But I also warned at the time about the concern that I had 6-7 months ago that we had a really good display. If you remember, against Aston Villa, 4-0 away win. We then followed that up with a defeat to Fulham, 3-0 defeat. And, despite a really, really good 45-minute performance against Brighton, where I described the team as electrifying, simulating, they really were. They were incredible. To then come out in the second half and give us, I can't even call it a performance, a display like that, and you boys were there, so disappointing because it just felt that we were starting to really build momentum. It would have been 6 wins in a row. And it just feels like with Tottenham, it's, almost one step forward, 20 back. So, maybe the international breaks might come at a good time, but I think it kind of gives us a reflection point of there's still a lot of work to do.
Lee, Macca, you've had a few problems this morning, but you're here. The smile's on your face. But how are we?
Well, I was just about to talk Spurs, lads. So the smile's back to the background. Look, I mean, it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because we've seen this so many times with Spurs. It doesn't matter what the players are, it doesn't matter what the manager is, it doesn't matter what the fan base is. It's the same old Tottenham, isn't it? And we did this with Conte. We went up, we got an amazing win against Man City, and then we travelled to Burnley and we lost 1-0. Ricky just said it there. Villa 4-0, absolutely amazing away win, and then we get battered by Fulham. Amazing away win at United. Maybe it wasn't amazing. Maybe United are rubbish. But the reality is, it's a fantastic result for us. And it was all on us, though, lads. I mean, I've written down here 20 minutes of madness, 20 minutes of complacency, 20 minutes of arrogance almost. It's a difficult one because I didn't get. You're gonna laugh at me for this. I've been away all weekend, right? So I didn't get to see the benefits of the first half. I didn't actually see all of the first half. Just saw some of the goals going in. I'm a stats man. I love my blue book and whatever, and I've been looking at statistics and stuff. I mean, statistically, across the whole game, that's the worst Premier League performance we put in statistically. So the least amount of shots that we've had on target, least amounts of shots that we've had in and around goal, least amounts of corners on average. So you've got to give opposition. Sometimes you've got to give the opposition credit, but actually the way that let's have it right. We capitulated in 18 minutes, 48 minutes. Their first goal went in. 66 minutes, Danny Welbeck put what ended up being the winner in, which is absolutely shambolic in that way. But I suppose what I would say is if that Brennan Johnson chance goes in, he's on absolute flames. And if that goes in before half time, it's 3-0. But again, history tells us, viewers, listeners, lads, right? History tells us 3-0 up at Man United versus Manchester United, we lose 5-3. 3-0 up at City against 10 men and we lose 4-3. Stuff's happened. I think, to be fair, it's Tottenham. It's all about Spurs, and we get that. But it's a development. It's a learning curve. People don't want to hear it. Of course we don't. But we've been seeing all these results year after year, but with different players and different managers. So we have to learn this time around. And Maddison, I think, put on his Instagram afterwards saying something like, it's unacceptable. We will give this as fuel, use this as fuel, sorry. And they need to, but we had 3 shots on target the whole game. So even though we were scintillating and even though we were good in the first half, yet again, we didn't put them to bed when we needed to. And I remember I did see flips of the first half. I remember Romero coming out from the back. I think we were 2-0 up and we're cruising. I'm thinking there's an air of arrogance around us, about us towards that first half, which I don't mind to see. I think you need to be humble with arrogance, but Spurs shouldn't be arrogant yet. They've done nothing to be arrogant about, and I think that they come out in the second half and paid the penalty for it, didn't they? Literally paid the price for it. So highly, like Ricky, like all of us, like massively disappointed. You know, when you're on an average target, 7.66 shots on average target throughout the whole 6 Premier League games we've had so far, and we've gone to Brighton and only put 3 on target. And to be fair, we scored 2 of them, but we probably could have had 4, could we, lads? I don't know. I didn't see the
Could
first
have had a
half,
few in that first half for sure.
So yeah, highly disappointing. But we have to take this as a positive. In terms of using that to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and also to look at the first half, as Vic said, we were scintillating, so we need to replicate that, and it's a consistency. I did say that we're winning a lot. I think I did on the last show. I think, and we all predicted a high-scoring game, didn't we? Whether it was going to be 3-2 to us or 3-2 to them, or I think I said 4-2 to us, which it easily could have been. So it was it was a tight game in that sort of way. But to be 2-0 up, cruising and lose it is just. It's a hard one to take, isn't it?
It's true what Macca says when he says it's the history of Spurs. It's the history to what history tells us, because we're the first team in the Premier League history to lose 10 games from 2-0 up. First team in Premier League history. So if that doesn't tell you that it's the history of our club, literally statistically it is the history of our club. Not even it's not even our feelings. Like, it's actually barefaced facts that it's history.
What is this? Depress and chill.
I think the thing is, boys, we do know there is a mentality issue just around this group at the moment, and that's not me digging out individual players, whether there were individual mistakes that led to the demise of that result against Brighton. But I've said this before, and I've said it on here to you guys, that my concern is that with the squad we've currently assembled, I don't see many leaders in there that when the going really, really gets tough, and we do go a goal down, who is that player? Who is that person that is going to lead this group through a 20, 25-minute storm that needs weathering? And I just don't see at the moment the player or players to do that. And that's really worrying me when you've got in there the likes of a World Cup winner in Romero. You've got someone like James Maddison who's got the ability to, I think, change a game. But again, you have to ask the question, if he's that influential, why is Ange continually bringing him off around the 75, 80-minute mark? Why does he not believe he's got the ability to change the game later on when we either need a goal or we're looking to turn around a game? At the moment, I feel like with Spurs, we're getting more questions than answers. And that's a concern for me because, as I've said, we can't keep sacking and changing the manager. But at the same time, for me, this second season was about seeing lessons being learned. And the big lesson that I wanted to see learned that I said to you guys at the start of this show was that, as I said, 6-7 months ago, have a terrific result away at Aston Villa, follow that with a defeat to Fulham. And it just feels like it's a similar recurring theme with Spurs. At the minute we try and get any form of momentum, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And for any team that wants to be somebody, you just can't do that. You can't. And again, is it back to not having the quality of player? But again, we hear from Ange that he's happy with the squad. So, and look, we have got Richarlison out. We have got Odegaard out. So the bench is missing options that would have changed. And Son as well, missing the bench that would have changed the game. But I just feel that in and around the fan base at the moment, there's a real uncertainty about where we're heading. And there's some fans that are firmly, vehemently behind Ange Postecoglou and just feel, look, we need to give this guy an opportunity. I don't think we've ever truly loved the manager since Pochettino. I think it's a big thing about it as well. And again, I go back to, I hate to bring them lot down the road, and it does have an impact on how we feel as fans. That when you see everything going down the road, that although they haven't won anything significant yet, the feeling is that they're building towards something. I feel like we as fans just want to grab on to something that we're going in the right direction. And I think because of our inconsistency, that does make it really tricky. But at the same time, I look at a good team and I look at away form being the key. And I think we've had 3 wins out of the last 17 away. And I think any good team, you look at their away form and that's a barometer for who they want to be, where they want to go. And our away form is really, really concerning. And what's more concerning is you've got players like the likes of Romero, who is, as I've said, a superstar in his own right at times. He had a really poor couple of individual moments this season that are costing the team dearly. And that just can't happen if you want to go places. And that is happening far too often this season.
I want to look back at the season. I think second international break is probably a really good opportunity just to, take a deep breath, look back on it, seeing if it has been as bad as maybe people are saying. Because we were sitting here a week ago, 5 wins on the spin, being like, things are great, we're turning a corner, we're winning games, we're scoring goals, we're not conceding too many. But when you actually look at the facts, we're sitting here 9th in the league, 10 points on the board, which is our worst start to the season, I think, since 2 points from 8 games under Juande Ramos when he obviously got sacked and Harry Redknapp came in soon after. Lee, do you think it's as bad as maybe what the stats are showing? Because in my opinion, you've seen, I think the second half against Brighton was probably in the league the only time where we've said, oh, this is nowhere near good enough. Because you look at the Leicester game where we drew, you know, we definitely should have won that game. Obviously, Everton came after that. We won 4-0. Newcastle away 2-1, which was a much improved performance at St James's Park than what we've seen in maybe recent years. We definitely should have got more out of that game. Arsenal, we lost 1-0. I think we probably deserved maybe a draw out of that game. And then we had that 5 games in a row. And then at halftime at Brighton, it was all looking rosy. You know, we were taken to the sword. We were 2-0 up, could have been more. And then the second half against Brighton happened. So do you think it's as bad as maybe what the table suggests?
No, I don't. I think I agree with everything you've just surmised. I think Coventry was probably the worst performance of the season across the 2 halves. And obviously we got the win to get through to the next round. And that second half performance against Brighton was absolutely terrible, and it's the worst performance of it. I think part of the issue is that it would have been 6 wins on the spin, which again is a mentality issue. And it's a how many clubs, and it'd be interesting to find the stats. I don't know if you've got them, Sim, but how many clubs actually do 6 wins on the spin? How many actually do it? I'll be interested to know. The super clubs maybe. Man City's, Bayern Munich's, whatever, but it'd be quite interesting to know that. Then you throw in there, well, hang on a minute, yeah, but Lee, you're talking about Ferrero Rocher away and carrier bag at home. Do you know what I mean? Like
that Ferrero Rocher.
Ferrero Rocher, yeah, exactly. So you're looking at them sorts of games and you're thinking, well, 6 on the trot isn't great. Then you look at the statistic that Rick just said, 3 away wins out of the last 18. I mean, how far do you want to go back? If we keep it in this season rather than going back, you can have a look at the stats, but 3 in the last 18 does not read well at all. But performance-wise, we could have easily been sitting there. I don't think we deserved anything out of that Brighton game on the basis that we played the way we did in the second half, but I don't think you can say that about Leicester. I don't think you can say about Newcastle. I don't think you can say that about some of the other games. So you could easily be sitting there and probably should be sitting there on 14, 15 points right now. So look, but the table don't lie, lads, right? And viewers, right? The table does not lie, so you can't look at that. I think if we wasn't creating chances, if we wasn't having them performances, if we were having really scrapey performances where we're not dominating possession, we're not dominating the ball, we're not having touch in the opposition box, we're not having shots. Just told you 7.66 shots on target on average before that Brighton game. That is right up there. So I would be worried if that wasn't the case. 2 points out of 8 games under Juande Ramos, we weren't doing any of that stuff. We were useless. And Harry came in and went, look, lads, we're going to run the shackles off. We're going to give you some ketchup, and we're going to have a go. and he let them have ketchup, and the rest is history from that perspective. But I mean,
I don't think Big Ange is devoiding them of the ketchup.
No, for sure. So I mean, when you look at the eye test, Crackers is one, and a lot of us have won for the eye test as well. You go to a home and away, lads. You see what you see on the pitch. Is it difficult to? It's frustrating right now. A question for you both. It's frustrating right now, but what you're seeing on the pitch and the style of football and the chances we're creating in a whole, it does warrant more than what the table's thinking. And actually, we're going in the right direction. And that's where I kind of disagree a little bit with Rick about some of the fan base saying we haven't got a direction. I think this is building. And again, this is just another one to throw over to you, Ben and Sim. Is don't all clubs have this kind of inconsistency piece when they're learning the 1-1 draws with West Brom's, or the 2-2s with Sunderland, or the 2-0 losses in Klopp's first season to West Ham United, the 5-4s to Norwich.
Well, Pep in his first season lost 4-0 at home to Everton. I remember early on.
Yeah, I mean, this is Andrew's second season, to be fair, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's and look, and the same with Arteta. If we're going to compare, and all I'm saying is, if we're going to compare to Arteta, let's compare to Arteta's second season where we are now. I was with my one of my best mates. He is a Gooner over the weekend, and he said, I know exactly how you're feeling. He said because we had exactly the same thing. He said you'll go 3-4 wins on the trot, 4-5 wins on the trot, think you're world beaters, and then you go and get smashed by. Weirdly enough, it was happening to them with Brighton. That's what it was actually happening with them, and they were getting smashed 3-1 by Brighton, whatever. So it's like it's part of the process. He's obviously been conditioned by Arteta, part of the process, and it's whether or not we can stomach that, because it is a new process for these players. These particular players didn't lose. They did to Villa, but they didn't lose to Burnley, or they didn't lose the 3-0 when they were 3-0 up and lost 5-3 to Man United all them years ago. That's the club did, but not these players, not this manager. So we are in 14, 15 months in, and like Rick said, look, you go and sack a manager again, we start again. We'll be here at the exact same place that we are today in another 14, 15 months with anyone. Tuchel, Poch, Pep even.
I am intrigued, boys, to see how the players are going to react, because I mean we're doing a bit of a review so far of the season, and we're at that point now where, let's be honest about it, I think from kind of October, November onwards, you start to get a feel for where the club is likely to be in and around that table. And look, maybe you're saying at the moment the position we're in is quite false, because again we've not played everyone at least once so far. But I'm really intrigued to see how the players are going to react to the criticism of Ange, because it's the first time he's publicly scathed them like that, to the point of saying that I'm questioning their desire, I'm questioning their integrity. And that can either go one or two ways. The way that you hope it will go is that the players are going to really react positively. They're going to really show that they do care for the manager. They're going to get behind him and they're going to give us performances. Or as it goes the other way. I mean, the only thing missing from that rant, let's be honest about it, was just the fact Conte destroyed the board as well. I mean, he did go quite heavily on the players in that press conference after the Brighton game. So I'm really intrigued to see how the players are going to react to that and almost take that on board. Because I think, when you look at Spurs' upcoming games to come, I think their next 4 out of the 5 are at home. Mm-hmm. So there is an opportunity there to get the season back on track to some degree. And look, I know obviously we spoke about having 5 wins beforehand, and look, I don't want to kid the fan base or try and make something out of it. They're not. I mean, we have to be honest about it. The calibre of teams that we're facing in there, I think, had we not beaten the likes of Coventry City away, Ferencvaros, there may be an inquest in general about some of those teams. So look, they're games that you should expect Tottenham to win, but at the same time, you can only go out and play what's in front of you and beat them. So I think when you've got the likes of West Ham to come after the international break, which again, normally for Spurs, West Ham at home is always quite a big game. No matter what anybody says, we want to win it, they want to win it. It is a cup final to them. And Ange has not yet beaten, let's be honest about it, a big London rival. He's yet to beat the likes of a Chelsea or a West Ham. So I think it's a really important game for him, as much as the players, to see, okay, how are these players going to react to Ange Postecoglou's criticism? Because I think these are the kind of games that gives you a feeling as to how the season is going to go. So I look at the next chunk of games to come, and that whilst we're sitting here doing a review so far of what's happened, I think the next indicator between now and November will give us a real idea about what this Spurs team are going to be this season. And look, Lee is, of course, that he's right. Second season under a manager, no matter who that is, it does form inconsistencies. But one thing I do just want to throw into the mix is that Ange hasn't lasted at a club longer than 3 seasons. So the notion of around Arteta being somewhere to grow somewhere for 4, 5, 6 seasons, Ange hasn't done that at any club. He's been there maximum of 3, and in those 3 seasons, by the 3rd one, he normally wins something. So as much as we want to be kept motivated by the project, what needs to be motivated for him? Does he feel he's got enough motivation with this group of players to really achieve something? Because what I will say is that after press conferences when we lose, rightly so, he looks absolutely devastated and gutted, and his emotion really transcends in those pressers where he doesn't take defeats well. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I like seeing a manager that wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's been criticised by not being animated on the touchline, not waving his arms around as much, but he's an observer of the game. He's not going to do that. He's not a Klopp. He's not a manager that's going to lose his temper like Simeone. That's just not his style, but he does wear his heart on his sleeve, as you've seen in the pressers. So I'm really interested to see how the group reacts now in terms of the upcoming games, because I will agree with what we said so far that bar the game we've just had, the Premier League performances have been quite good. The only one, again, outside of that has been the Coventry game, which we all said, really, we were quite lucky to win, but it's a cup competition. So the key, I think, will now be between now and November what we get in terms of performances when we've got the next 4 out of the 5 at home.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you look at like starts of the season and how much you can read into it, because as you say, that's like statistically it's our worst start to the season since Ramos. Obviously, it's a very different to 2 points from 8 games. You've got 10 points from 7, which is a lot better than that. But you look back to a couple of years ago, after 10 games under Conte, we had our best start to the season. I think I can't remember how many games we'd won in our first. I don't know if last season overtook that, but at the time anyway, under Conte, it was our best start to the season after like 10 games. And but you could see it wasn't all right, even though we were winning games.
Everyone said it wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, everyone said something was a bit off about it, even though we weren't playing that terribly, but we weren't playing well, and everyone could tell.
Was that the season when we drew at Stamford Bridge, right at the beginning?
Yeah, luckily, and we
kept saying they were conserving energy in the second half. If you remember, we kept saying they were conserving energy.
But you could see, it wasn't really clicking. It wasn't like it was a bit of a false start, even though we were like best start in the Premier League at the time. And so, you can then, but I think you can look at this start and say, yeah, technically, it is results-wise our worst after 7 games since then. But I think you can tell that on the pitch, the way we're playing, if we continue to play this way, we will start picking up regular wins. We will start picking up regular results. When we do win, we win very well. When we, even when we don't win, you could see how we could have won, and we see what we're missing. And you see why we didn't win. Sometimes you come away from a defeat, right, and you've lost 3-0. How do you?
That did happen on the weekend.
I know that happened on the weekend, but a lot of games, we've seen it with Spurs. How many times do you come away from a defeat like we were just so bad, like there's just you can't see anything. Like only really the second half against Brighton have we seen that this season. And I think I think maybe the reason Ange went so hard on the players, probably I'm trying to surmise why he was so critical of them on Sunday, is I think it probably was a new problem in a way that we've seen, because this season when we've lost games, it's not because it's because we haven't killed off games. We haven't got that second goal. We've been in control, but we haven't sealed the game off when we've been on top. This time we had control. We got the second goal, and then we maybe he saw complacency seeping in, and that's a different problem to what we're seeing at the beginning of the season. Obviously, in most games, if we can get a second goal and if we can seal a game just like we did at Brighton, that's going to be a good situation going forward. But we can't allow ourselves to allow complacency seep in. I really think the last 5 games, and even before that, have shown that the system that is being set up at the moment and the way we're functioning is actually being really effective, and teams are struggling to deal with it, and teams are not sure who to pick up. I think Maddison and Decky, as I've said, developing a really good relationship. Johnson's finding a great form. I think Solanke's settled in really well. Obviously, there's a few problems on the left wing, but the chances we're conceding. Yes, obviously we're a team that will always give you an opportunity to create chances, but by and large, if you look at all the stats, we're quite low down in terms of shots on target against, in terms of times players their teams are getting in our penalty area, all these kind of things. Like we're not allowing teams actually that many opportunities to get shots and stuff like that. But
also on the flip side to that, when we do come under the caution games, when teams do put it on us and can kind of override that, against Leicester in that 15-minute period, in the second half against Brighton, we don't really know how to handle those situations. And we've got 4 top defenders at the back. We've got, you look at our squad right now, there's not many players that you would consider as complete deadwood. So why is that?
Why top defenders though? But we're seeing reoccurring issues.
That's what I'm saying. But which one of those defenders would you want out the club, or would you not want starting? Like every one of those defenders, you would anyone would consider, and we've made the argument like a Mickey van de Ven, if he goes into that Arsenal team with that Arsenal setup in that settled squad, he would be a top player for them, as well as Coutinho Romero, World Cup winner. You've seen him put top performances in a World Cup, and one of the best, if not the best defender at that World Cup. So I can't really put my finger on why these players can't handle those kind of moments in games.
Because they're being asked to do too much, probably, I would say.
I agree with
in a lot of those moments. Yeah. Like in terms of when we are exposed, we are exposed. Like a lot of these players are like in one-on-one situations when you've got Matoma. Like the reason what's it called? Matoma is a phenomenal player when he's in a one-on-one situation with a defender. He can take you to the cleaners any day of the week. Most teams would double up on him. Most teams would get back in position. If you've seen that second half against Brighton, Brighton, I was reading some analysis of in the second half. They basically pushed all their front four onto our back four. So it was literally a 4-on-4 at the back line. That is obviously not going to be a sustainable situation unless what you do is you stop the supply to that back four. And because our pressing was off it in that second half, we didn't stop the supply, so they were constantly getting in. Now, how we operate and how the system works is, because we're such an intense team, how it usually works is we press the opposition into oblivion and we basically suffocate them so that they don't have time on the ball to get good quality supply to their front line, and so they're usually either hitting it long or we're intercepting or we're regaining control more often than not. And the few times they do get through, yes, they can create a decent opportunity, but hopefully those chances are so few and far between. Maybe it happens once or twice. First of all, if they miss out of those chances, then that chance is gone. But if they score, it's only a goal, and hopefully the way we play can mean that we can score 3 or 4 a game because we're constantly creating chances and we're having a lot of the ball. That's the way we operate. But obviously, when it falls flat, it looks horrible. Go on, Lee.
I was going to say, no, you made some brilliant points, all of us, and I just wanted to come up on that. I mean, again, isn't that part of the learning process? Like the Spurs fans, we're all fans, right? I go to all the home games, I go to away when I can. You go to home and away, we get down to stadiums, we are there, we pay our money, contrary to what public opinion is. But that's what we do. And
you get wined and dined by Levy, I thought, Lee.
Of course I do. The thing is, like, we're all frustrated because of that. But actually, when you think about it at a granular level, when you're building anything, which is what Ange is doing, he's walked in this club and re-changed the whole lot. And the key thing is culture. The culture right at the top of the club. It trickles down from everywhere. We all know that. And I think we've all been very strong on where we are. The one thing that is, we talk about mentality in the club itself. We're not winners as a club. We're not winners under this regime. We're not winners. I'm sure we'll go on to that. But I suppose what I'm coming from is you have to make mistakes. You have to fail in order to be better. You have to. You don't. No one I know successful in business, in sport, in building has been in a situation where everything's gone perfect straight away. It's not a linear process. It doesn't do this. It does do this, and we have to be conditioned to know that it's going to do that. That's very, very difficult as Spurs fans because feels like we've been doing this, probably more like this, to be fair, for forever, right? For way too long. But that's not under this manager and not under these players. Does that make sense? So you've got to get. Look, I'm not telling you how to feel because otherwise you can at me at Lee McQueen if you want to tell how you feel. But this constant irrational behaviour after a loss, from certain sections of the fan base on social media and whatever, is counterproductive to what we're trying to do. And I think if you see a speed limit change, right? Bear with me here, but if you see a speed limit change on the road, it's as a consequence of many accidents happening at that spot, right? You don't have one accident at the spot and go, do you know what? That needs to be a
speed limit. Exactly.
You don't do that. What you do is you go, okay, well, that was an accident. We'll learn from that, make sure that, and then we might put a different sign up or we might put it up as a black spot, whatever it might be. Another accident happens, another accident. It's probably not until the fourth accident that then you say, actually, we need to lower the speed limit. Yeah, do you see where I'm coming from?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad, mate, because that for me is the context of where we are at in our journey. We're not 20 years into our journey. We are with Daniel leaving the ownership, and that's another debate which we're happy to have. But we're actually 15 months in, and that lack of concentration element. If you go and start a business tomorrow. I'm sure lots of you, the viewers and listeners, have done this, right? Go and start a business tomorrow, and then tell me that you just literally rocket from zero to exactly where you want to be in the next 3 years. Okay, it just doesn't happen. Like, you have to go down, then you go back up. The level of consistency, that is the skill. And that's what he's trying to put into these players. I don't want to say tiredness, because we didn't have a rest and Brighton did, because Van der Ven and Romero, and so half the squad wasn't playing, were they? in midweek. Sorry, Romero was, but Van de Ven wasn't. So, but maybe it was tiredness, lads. Maybe it was. Maybe that we switched off. Don't do it again. And I come back to Rick's point. We've already done it under this manager with some of these players with Villa, and I think that's probably your concern, Rick, isn't it?
It is, but also I think the mixed messaging going on is that you've got the manager on one hand telling you he wants Tottenham to fight for the Premier League. He said that before the season kicked off, and we're currently ninth in the league, and I think we're 7 or 8 points already off the top. I mean, look, I don't think I went into the season with ambitions that we're going to win the Premier League. I looked at the squad we've got, and I thought we're going to be maybe pushing around the top 6. We're lucky maybe to finish in the top 4, and hopefully we have a long run in the cup. I just feel at the moment that I'm not quite sure what we want to be. And until we know that...
I'm not sure about that. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not sure about that. I think Ange knows exactly what he wants us to be. And I think the players know exactly what they need to be. And I think that
What do you think? What do you think Ange wants us to be, Macca? He wants us to be champions?
Yeah, of course he does. And so do we. I don't know why he's being mocked for that. You know, I'm pig sick of hearing other managers telling us that we're not good enough and we can't do this and we can't do that. You know, I think where the confusion comes in is to where some of the fan base think what we are and what's realistic and what we should be or what we should be. I actually think inside the dressing room, the reason, this is my opinion, the reason why he's reacted the way he has is because I think he knows exactly where he wants us to be, and we're not there yet, and it's frustrating. And them stupid mistakes, which, let's have it right, are on 2 of the best defenders in the league. And it's on them the reason why we conceded them goals. So I think it's pure frustration in that. But I wouldn't belittle the manager for coming out and saying I want to win things in my second season. I want to be up there. I want to be challenging. I wouldn't be belittling them at all.
Don't belittle him for that. But I think when you look at what we've done in the window to then comparisize to what he says, something doesn't add up there. The correlation of that doesn't add up. It's great having a manager that wants to come out and say we want to be competing for the league. We want to be in and around the top. But then when you see the squad he's got to do that, I don't see the scale of that. I don't see the balance of that being correct. So look, great that he's got the belief, great that he's got that integrity piece around him, but I'm worried that the players that he's got there are not capable enough to do what he wants them to do on a week-to-week basis. I think, and that's why you are seeing some players that are making mistakes. And I do worry about Romero, the fact that he has been really at the point of a number of these mistakes. A player that got speculation around his future in the summer. There's a wandering eye there for me. That's what's really worrying me and concerning me about Romero. This is not to sensationalise on one player, but at times his head does not look in the game. It doesn't look like he's here, and that's what worries me. You know, we need players.
Romero, for me, is you mentioned earlier about the leaders just to interact with you. Sorry to interrupt again, but I wanted to make this point earlier. It's a brilliant point you made about the lack of leaders. He was the leader on that pitch, literally with the armband on, and he was the one that was culpable, dare I say it, for 2 of the 3 goals. So, you know, it was clearly the lack of leadership during that 20-minute spell. But when you look overall over the season, has he played well enough? I know in the second half of the show we're getting into power rankings, but has Romero played well enough? Isolated incidents, as you mentioned, 2 or 3 times, he's cost us. But actually, as an overall rating for the season, has he been good enough? And the answer is probably yes. I mean, he was a top scoring centre-back last season, which is why he's being linked with Real Madrid, right? It's a catch-22, isn't it? Sorry, Rick, I interrupted you, bud.
That's fine. I mean, I think at the moment we're just a bit disillusioned by certain players' performances because I think we, as Ben said, we believe a lot in these players and what they're capable of doing, but we're not seeing some of them reach that potential that we know they're capable of. And I think that's the biggest frustration, that if you said to someone before the start of the season, you know, would you swap our back 4 or 5 for anybody? And although Vicaro's had mistakes in his game, he's a fabulous shot stopper. I don't know if we would swap them, but the concerning thing is that in the way I think they're being deployed in the system, I'm not sure we're seeing the best of these players, which is a big worry for me. I think in a more stable system, when they're maybe not being asked to sit so far high up, you would have more consistent displays. That's just a feeling I've got. And I know, Sim, you've done a piece actually recently on your channel around the drop-off in the second half, which, to be fair, it wouldn't have been something that immediately came to me, but has become more apparent as the season is progressing, that we do seem to have a drop-off in the second half. And I think that's because of the way that we want to play in this such high-pressured, high-intensity style of football where we really are pressing on the opposition that is led by Solanke, who is great at it, don't get me wrong, and was fundamental for a couple of the goals against Brighton. But I do worry that, again, as the season progresses and the way we want to carry on playing, whether that pressing style can be sustainable when we are in 4 competitions. We want us to go as far as we possibly can in them. So I just feel at the moment, and again, sorry to say this again, I feel there's a lot more questions than answers. But again, as Lee has said, we're in a second season of somebody where it doesn't always necessarily fit into place. But I feel that I need to see more green shoots that gives me the confidence and reassurance that this is going in the right way. And I think, I don't really look at tables at the moment, but I know many do, and the form in general is a concern. So I think Spurs fans have got every right to feel the concerns they have right now. And I feel you see that amongst the fan base. There's a real polarising feeling about the manager, the players, the squad, and where we're at. And the hard thing is asking fans to be patient when they've been patient for near on 20 years for any form of success. So, yeah, it's tough, boys, as you can tell. I think we're still down from the weekend and we need a pick-me-up, that's for certain.
Yeah, I
think it's a fine line, though, isn't it? Because I bring it back to the games where, against Newcastle, against Leicester, if we would have taken our chances in those games and got the 3 points on the board, I think everyone would have a lot of a different outlook on it. If you put the exact same performances in those games, but you just take your chances, we'd be sitting a lot higher up in the table. And I think a lot of people, a lot of fans, including me, very impatient, and they just want to win here. They want to win now. They don't want to go through the process, don't want to go through the pain of a rebuild. And when you look at what Ange had to go through, losing Harry Kane, Tottenham's arguably best player of all time, and you go and look at the 10 games that we had after losing Harry Kane, and we kind of got lulled into that false sense of security a little bit of maybe being in a bit of a false position, playing better than maybe having an overperformance essentially in that moment in time, and then maybe we reverted back to type throughout that campaign. What I need to see is progression. And yeah, maybe we're all a bit emotional after losses and after Brighton and everything like that. And yeah, we are emotional. But when you look at the bigger picture and you look at maybe the progress that we have made in these first 7 games to what we have seen to the last 6 months of last season, I mean, we're top in shots on target, pressing, touches in the opposition area, all these kind of facets. We're top in the league at the moment. So I am seeing progression in those facets. Maybe we're not seeing progression in results here and now, but if we do keep playing this way and we keep trusting in this manager and the players stay on side and the fans stay on side, I do think that we can keep going in this upward trajectory. But like Lee said, it's not going to be a linear process with results. You're going to see ups, you're going to see downs. And we need to keep bringing in the right players in this club. And maybe we didn't bring in enough in the transfer window just gone by. But when you're looking at these young players, Lucas Bergval's only going to get better. Archie Gray's only going to get better. Odebear's only going to get better. We've got Luka Vuskovic and Yang Min-hyuk coming into the club in January and in the summer. And if you're not excited by Luka Vuskovic and what he's doing out in the Belgium League, I don't know what you're looking at the moment. So I think there are a lot of reasons to be positive being a Spurs fan at the moment. And yeah, fine, you can be frustrated with the second half performances of Brighton and it was nowhere near good enough and it was unacceptable. But if you do look at the bigger picture, I do think Spurs are going in the right direction right now. And yeah, I'm not happy right now because I'm still emotional from that Brighton game, but I am kind of seeing the progress. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, I still think fans have got every right to be concerned that when we are, like I said earlier in the show, in a situation where we either go a goal down or we're in that moment of a game that's really tricky, who's going to see us through that? That is my biggest concern at the moment. I don't see a player or players that are there to guide us and see us through in those difficult moments. And that's something that I can't get away from at the moment, that maybe we'll add to the squad in January and we'll have those kind of players come in. But there's no Spurs fan that can tell me that despite how good, Ben, and I agree with you, Vuskovic will be for the future and we've got some really good young stars. The immediate concern is now that when a game is getting away from us, who is that player or players that manage to take the game by the scruff of the neck and reverse the scoreline and get us through the difficult moments? And I just don't see that player there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Rick. I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's reverse the scoreline. I think it's that game management piece of somebody just falling over for a 2-minute injury and getting Ange or somebody to go over and go, boss, you can sense the game is getting away from you. 48 minutes in, they've just kicked off, bang, one is they've got one back, and you're thinking, oh, here we go, and the crowd's up, they're having an attack. Just go down, just roll your ankle.
We don't like slowing the game down, though, do we? That's not how we play. We like to keep, goal kicks, get them out straight away, like throw-ins, quick throw. Like we're very intense. We like to get the go play it at a fast pace, keep it going. We don't like slowing it down.
No, it's not. Yeah, I do agree with that. It's not necessarily slowing it down. It's just like I think the leadership thing. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rick. But an experienced leadership thing is sensing what's happening. You can sense that.
That's what I mean.
We can all sense it. We can all sense it. We're like,
we all knew.
Here we go. We've been in here. So it's not slowing the game down for a long period. It's like just getting that, almost having another 2 or 3 minutes of half time where you think, shit, I need to regroup here a little bit and it's not about stopping going gung ho and all that. It's just having an injury so somebody can go, right, lads, get to grip to here. Because if you look at the statistics in the second half, we had 1 shot on target the whole second half, like 1. And it's just terrible statistically wise. We still had all the more possession than them, but we didn't have. What we were doing, what we normally do with the ball, we wasn't doing at all. We'd lost it. We'd lost our heads for probably 12 minutes. That gave them that foothold. And then when Danny Welbeck scored after that 18-minute spell, we were done. And that was for me, that's the biggest worry. Coming back to your point, Rick, as well, is that there was no one to go, right, let's go again here. Ange's mentality is like Simi, as you just said, we go again. We never stop. We're the fittest team in the league. And we had no gas. Because he scores that third on the 66th minute. We've got 33 minutes of play left, team.
We looked spent, didn't we?
We looked spent, and that's what I'm coming back to. Was it the travelling? Was it the mentality? Was it the fatigue? And how many times have we asked this question of previous managers, previous teams, previous players? And that's why I think it gets really grating. And but me personally, I just look at it, having built teams and whatever myself. I know there is I don't want to be an Arteta here, but I know there is a process, and you do have to go through some rubbish to get through to, you have to go through failures to get the good times. We've been through a lot of failures as a club, but this group hasn't. And that's the reality, and that's hard, but we're going to have to go through some other ones as well.
Yeah.
I want to just ask a quick question, like with us as fans, like seeing it from the stands, watching it from TV, what are we actually looking for as a leader? Because we brought it up yesterday about there's no leadership in the back line, and we're looking for leaders, but how can we actually visually see a leader? Because I'm looking at the leaders right now in the Premier League and captains. It's not the old John Terrys and the Patrick Vieiras and Roy Keanes. That kind of leadership's gone out of the game, in my opinion. You've got maybe Virgil van Dijk that maybe shows that, but he's probably one of the only ones. You look at Vicario, he maybe shouts at his players a couple of times a game. Sonny leads by example. I mean, those are the kind of leaders that are probably in the Premier League right now. So what are we actually looking for?
I know, I'm
visually from a leader.
That's crazy, but players like we had at the time, I know people won't laugh at me saying this, like players like Wilson Palacios, Scott Parker, Moussa Dembele, players that would take the game by the scruff of the neck, that when there's difficult moments are there, that aren't hiding, are showing up and leading the team through difficult moments in the game. And to go back to what Lee said earlier, it's at that point where as a fan, this is getting away from us, that you need anybody on that pitch to try and get a message through that we need to regroup here. And I just don't see enough players taking that approach to try and calm things down. And to be fair, Bentancur is one of the players that I do think has got that ability to keep a calm, mature, composed head. But I don't see many others in there. I said it to you guys last week with Basuma. I think Basuma's a good player, but I think Basuma, when the going gets tough, I've not seen enough where he shows me he has got the ability to really take the game by the scruff of the neck and lead us through a difficult 10, 15-minute period. I personally just don't think that player's there, Ben, to go back to your question about
I think we are being maybe a bit reactionary to all this, because you've got to remember, we ripped up the leadership group last year. We had Højbjerg, we had Lloris, we had Harry Kane, and Ben
Davis,
and was it Ben Davis?
Ollie Skip,
Ollie Skip in the leadership group. Well, forget them. But so all these players are all actually fairly new to this role. And yes, you can maybe say leadership's either something you have or you don't, but these are guys who are quite young guys who are new into this role, new into this leadership group, new to being leaders in the team. Something they're probably maybe not accustomed to. Apart from it, well, obviously Son is captain of his country, but he wasn't playing on Sunday. Romero's obviously shown he's got leadership qualities when he plays for Argentina, because their defensive record is astounding, albeit they play a very, very different kind of style of football. But people like Vicara, like Bentancur, like and when it comes to Romero in this team anyway, like these are players who are quite new to this leadership role, and maybe we've got to give them time to kind of bed into it, and not just kind of say, and Maddison as well, you know, he's quite new to this leadership role at Tottenham, and I think instead of just saying we have no leaders and you know that's it, like because off the back of that game on Sunday, I think we have to give them we have to be a bit patient with them and give them a bit of time to grow into that role, as opposed to just say they're not leaders, and if we don't have a new leadership group, then that's it, like we're done. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily true. It might be true, but I don't think saying like unless we bring new leaders in the team, we're going nowhere. I don't know if that's necessarily true either.
I think it's a maturity thing. I think it comes back to players bought in the summer, and the squad that we're going after. A lot of players, a lot of fans, a lot of people, including myself, wanted bigger names to come into the football club. The club's identity is clear. It is clear as day where they're going. They are going with young, high ceiling potential, technical young players. You know, Destiny Doggy, I absolutely love the guy. You know, he's not at fault for he's not at fault. Two double negatives there. Sorry. He's at fault for one of the goals potentially at the weekend. You could say that it come further up the pitch and put him under pressure, but he could have done better with the miss kick. He's made a couple of other mistakes. Well, the guy's 21 years old. You know, so you know, but Lee, he's 21. Like, you know, we need more experienced players. Yeah, but the only way you get experience is by playing the young lads. It's a project. It's going to take not 15 months. It's going to take 3 years. You know, it's all of them key things. I think in terms of a leader, Ben, come back to your question. For me, I'm looking at them moments where you can sense the game is getting away from you, and you do something different. Yeah, you change it up. I'm not saying, you know, go back to Conte and low blocking and Jose Mourinho. What I'm saying is you go, okay, do you know what? Ange's given us a framework for how we go and play, and we're not playing like that. We're also not low blocking either. So we're kind of not doing anything. And that is the reason for them 18 minutes. We didn't do what we normally do, because go and have a look at statistics, go and have a look at the amount of shots on target that we had in the second half, the shots at goal we had, the amount of forward play, the amount of touches in the opposition box. We didn't do any of the things that have left us in really good stead this year. Does that make sense, lads? So I think, you know, it's somebody on the pitch, the leader, recognising, whoa, hang on, lads, we ain't doing what we're meant to be doing here. Let's regroup and go again, regardless of if it's 2-1 or 2-2 or dare I say, even at 3-2, we only needed to score, and that's only, but if we'd have got the equaliser, we'd have won that game. 4-3, something ridiculous, 5-3. But we didn't have the belief, or as Rick said, the leadership or whatever, that guile, you know, to let a 15-minute, 20-minute spell just kill us. That's the most disappointing. That's more disappointing than the result, and I think that's why Ange has reacted the way he has. Does that make sense?
100%. Makes perfect sense. But look, at the end of the day, only time will tell, see if Spurs are going the right way, if we do have those leaders in the dressing room. And it's going to take a big reaction after the weekend against West Ham, because you know what West Ham are going to bring to Tottenham, and they always play well in their cup final, essentially. So we'll see what happens.
Early kickoff as well, Ben, isn't it?
Early kickoff, well. Yeah, exactly. Classic. And, you know, and Ange as well, he's got previous in these derbies. We need to finally get over the line in one of these London derbies, and I'm backing it to come this weekend. And if you're looking at the next weekend, so if you're looking at the next 5 games, actually, we've got West Ham at home, AZ Alkmaar, Aston Villa at home, and Man City at home. 3 of those games, Man City at home in the Cup, 3 of those games we lost last year. We lost to Man City in the Cup last year at home, we lost to Villa at home, and we lost to West Ham at home. So we need to see improvements in those games in terms of results. So,
to be fair, in terms of scorelines, we're improving. We are.
We are.
We lost 4-2 to Brighton last year. It was only 3-2 this year. We drew 2-2 at United last year. We won 3-0. We lost 3-2 at home to Arsenal. It was only 1-0 this time. albeit Leicester one didn't go our way, but we made up for it with United. So,
but I mean, jokes aside, I mean, they are getting better, Sim. But jokes aside, they are the same results, and I think that's where Rick's coming from. Is like when you look at Newcastle away, we lost last season, we lost there this season. When you look at the Arsenal at home, we lost there last year. We lost that game.
Yeah, but there was a big difference, wasn't there, in the Newcastle game last year to this year, wasn't there? As much as the result was the same.
100%, but look, at the end of the day, I do agree with that, and I'm buoyed by the performances. But the league table don't lie.
Results are results,
and it's a results game at the end. I get that. I get why fans would think that. And look, more importantly, not more important than the fans, because that's who we make the game. But in terms of Ange's tenure, the fans ain't going to get Ange out per se. What will get them out is the board, and actually whether or not Daniel Levy and the board. If we go and lose to West Ham, to Man City out of the cup, and to Aston Villa, we're going to be sitting 14th, 15th in the table come mid-November. Now,
if we lose 3 in a row, he's under pressure. He's under big pressure again. That's for sure.
Massive pressure.
But obviously, that's also a chance to correct some results from last year as well. So it swings and roundabouts.
But again, we kind of did overrun on that topic. We've been going for about 50 minutes. Do we still have time for power rankings? Are you guys got a bit of time on your hands?
I've got half hour or so, guys. Is that okay? Half hour, 40 minutes?
Yeah,
okay?
I think we'll be able to get through it in half an hour. All right, cool. Let's get into it. We're going to rank every player that's played in the squad so far in terms of how we think they've done this season. We're going to go 1 to 24. It's been 24 players that we've deployed so far this season. So we'll go from 1 all the way down to 24. In terms of the best player for Spurs so far this season, who do you think it's been, Sim?
Decky. Who else? I think he's just been so consistent. He's been adapting to his new role amazingly. I've been so impressed with Decky. For me, I think he's been our most consistent player. And I think not only has he's been one of the best centre mids in the league, I think, this season, the way he's been playing. And I've just been so impressed with how he's adapted to the new role. So I think he's been our best player for me.
Rick?
Decky, I probably would agree with. Yeah, I think in terms of when you look at the season so far as a whole, I think Decky's been definitely the most influential of that group that has shown us that in his game, he's been adaptable. He's been able to, like I say, find his role now in that kind of centralised position. He's contributed to both goals and assists. So I think overall, I'd say Decky's probably our player of the season to date.
Macca, do you agree?
I think Højbjerg. Since he's left, obviously the leadership of this team's got much better, and he hasn't been making the mistakes. No, it's hard to disagree with Decky. I think the only thing is at the end results, you've got to put Brennan Johnson in there. There's so many, not just around the hate and all that sort of stuff, but the fact of the matter is he scored 6 in 6, and some of the opposition you would say, well, it's questionable, but and that 6 in 6 will get discarded because we lost the football match. But the bloke's on absolute flames. He's hit the post and the bar during that 6 in 6 spell as well. I think he's been fantastic these last 6 games. But I think for the level of consistency, which is what we've just been bemoaning about in terms of the 20-minute spell in Brighton, or the lack of consistency, I think Decky's been right up there as well. I think Bentancur, since he's come back in, has looked really good. And I've got to give a shout out, and that's hard because they were probably at fault. The defence were at fault at the weekend, but Mickey van der Ven's been absolutely outstanding as well, hasn't he? Let's be fair when he's been playing the game. But yeah, I mean, I think Maddison started pretty well as well. It's weird, isn't it, that we go for all this doom and gloom, but yet when we're talking about the players, actually you can't really dig out someone and go, they've been absolutely shocking because. Well,
yeah, no one's really. You can't really point to many players that really have had a poor season. To be honest,
there are a few, and we'll see who find themselves down the bottom of the list.
I said not many. I never said there were none.
So back, are you going for Decky or are you going for Brennan? Who are you going for?
I'm gonna go Brennan, Ben. I'm gonna go with Brennan.
So I get the deciding vote then. Is that what we're saying? I'm going to go with Decky as well. I think he's been so far the most consistent player from start to finish. He's come in, just looked a completely new player from that change of position. And I just think he's just looking with an air of invincibility at the moment with his physicality, with his knitting of the play together. I just think his pressing, I think everything about him so far, it's just got that new mentality about him. And when you're talking about leaders as well, that I think that can add something different and grab the game by the scruff of the neck, I think he's actually one of the ones that come close to the top of the list on that.
So Kulusevski is going to go at the top. Number 2, we'll start off with you, Ricky.
So number 2, Brennan probably. I mean, he would just be behind, I think, in terms of, like Maka said there, to have got 6 in 6. And the way I think the criticism that he's had, that can really go one or two ways with a player. That can really, let's be honest about it, either make them feel that they can't compete and therefore you see a real downward trend, or you see an upward trajectory, which is what we've seen in Brennan, to have reacted the way he has done by scoring 6 in a row. And yes, people will maybe look at the calibre of the teams that he's played in, but he still has to score and has scored. So I think the way Brennan has taken the criticism and head on, has come back in the way he has done, has been really remarkable. So I would definitely put Brennan as my kind of second player that I think has done fairly well in his opening fixtures and has got so much more to give. I think the one thing about Brennan is that, he got 15 GAs last season, above that. And I think we all felt with Brennan that he was a player that was always going to be a progression period in him, that he could definitely improve. And we're seeing that now. And I think the exciting thing is I think he's already matched his, tally for last season in terms of contribution. So whatever happens this season, rest of it, he'll be getting more goals, which means he'll be on even better contribution than last season, which I think tells you everything about the progression of the player so far.
I'm actually going to put forward Mickey van de Ven, I think, for second best player of the season. I think similar to Kulusevski, I think he's kept up his, apart from the second half at Brighton, I think he's kept up his standards the whole way through. He's been a vital cog in the defence, a big reason why we haven't conceded so many big chances this season. It's just like, it's such a comforting feeling when you see a player bearing down in our half, and he's got the whole half to kind of run into. And Mickey van de Ven, you just see that steam train coming towards you, and you just know he's going to get there every single time. And obviously those 2 assists against Everton and against Manchester United, I mean, 2 of the best assists you're going to see this season. So, yeah, I'm going Mickey van de Ven. Sim?
Yeah, Mickey. I think he's been really consistent, barring the second half against Brighton. I think he's been phenomenal, actually. So, remember the game against Karabag, down to 10 men. He was like a one-man defence at times, and he was able to stop them. And, yeah, I'm going Mickey. And obviously there's 2 assists, as you say. Unbelievable.
Lee, deciding vote.
Well, I mean, I just picked Brennan top, so I can't now push Brennan to third. So I'm gonna agree with Rick and put Brennan second, which means we've got a kind of a tie on that. But I mean, it could easily be Mickey, couldn't it? To be fair, as well. So yeah, I'm going with Brennan as my potential vote, but that means it's 2-2. So I don't know what that means. But
so that means Brennan and Mickey have got to go second and third. I'm not sure who. Joint second and no third. We'll
Why
put.
not?
Look, we'll just because of how he's turned it around, we'll put Johnson second, and we'll put Van de Ven in third. So fourth, start off with you, Lee. Who do you reckon's fourth?
Blimey. Okay, with his goals and assists and the way he's started playing, I think he's been very unlucky not to get into the England squad. From he's controlled games, he's helped us control games. For some reason, Ange can't put him on for the full 90 minutes. Maybe that's managing him. But I'll put fourth for me has been James Maddison. I think alongside Kulusevski, who you guys just put at number 1. I think he's formed a very, very strong partnership with him. Again, it will get forgotten because we lost the football match, but he scored an offside goal, didn't he, against Brighton, and then he actually scored the other goal as well. Could have had another one. He was pulling the strings, certainly, in parts of that game. So I'm going James Maddison.
Sim?
I think it's between, for me, Maddison and Solanke. I'm not sure if I can split it. I think Solanke's been fantastic as well. I think I'm going to just side with Solanke, actually. I think his overall game has been just added a new dimension to the attack. I actually think he's been really consistent. Hasn't really had a bad game. I think in every game he's given centre-backs trouble. Even the game against Brighton, he didn't score, but the passes he was playing in behind were brilliant. Always makes an impact. And he's got 3 goals. So I'm going to go, 3 goals, 2 assists now. So I think I'm going to go with Big Dom.
There's a few runners, there's Solanke, there's Maddison, there's Vicario, who I think has, for the most part, has been brilliant this season. Sonny as well, 2 goals, 2 assists in 5 games in the Premier League so far. But I think I'm going to go with Solanke as well, to be fair. What are you going with, Rick?
Yeah, Solanke as well. I would have had Solanke just above Maddison, just on the basis that I think the way he's come in and impacted games. I think we all said, we could see this guy's going to fit into the team, and I think, again, not to keep going back to Brighton, but he was influential in both the goals and fundamental in how they come about. So I've seen a lot of positive things from Solanke. Just hope, like I say now, fingers crossed, he comes back fresh from international duty. And it's great to see him actually get the international call-up. As much as I'm not a fan, as many know about international football, it's great to see him back in that surrounding where I think he deserves to be and what a journey he's had. You know, when you think about it 9-10 years ago since his last cap, I'm sure he'll get a cap during this couple of games to come. So, yeah, Dom definitely gets my vote for the way he started for sure.
Well, if we're saying Dom in fourth, then we've all kind of mentioned Maddison here. So I guess we can put Maddison in fifth. After Maddison, I guess it's got to be Sonny, right? Sonny or Vicario?
Sonny, Vicario.
Vicario Ben's a great shout.
Porro.
I didn't put Dom up there, by the way, is because of appearances. See, he's missed a couple of games, so that's why I put Maddison ahead of him. But it's, you know, we're you know, looking at little bits and bobs there. I think Vicario is a great shout. You know, a couple of clean sheets in the Premier League this year. They've definitely got better at them that corner situation from last year. We're talking about, you know, wanting to see improvements, and that's definitely. I mean, to be fair though, he did flap a couple, didn't he? And he has blatantly handball it outside the box. So maybe that knocks him down a few points.
And the Arsenal corner could have maybe done better with that. So there's a couple of moments, but I think in general he's been, especially recently, been phenomenal.
Guys, he's a phenomenal shot stopper. The concerns was unfortunately, I think, around the box. I think we can't get away from that. Still an element of concern. So we need to see, hopefully, across the season, that definitely sort itself out. But as a shot stopper, I think we'll find one better in terms of what we paid for him.
Well, we've conceded 8 goals in the Premier League this season. I envisage it would be a lot more if it wasn't for Vicario and his top saves this season. So, yeah, we'll put Vicario next. And after that, surely it's got to be Sonny.
He got 2 goals against Brentford and against Everton, then he was brilliant against Brentford as well. Got 2 assists. Other than that, I mean, has had a fairly mixed season apart from those 2 games. But I think in general, he's been pretty good on the left-hand side. He has missed, obviously, the last couple. Got injured against Karabag. But yeah, I'm happy to put him there.
The only players I can say that probably gets into the argument is Pedro Porro.
I think Bentancur has looked okay in a couple. I think the thing with Bentancur is he's not been fit enough to be able to really warrant maybe this debate at the moment. But yeah, I do agree. Maybe Sonny would be next on the list.
Mackie, you agree?
Yeah, I'm happy to go with Sonny. I mean, I think Sonny's going through one of his spells where he is impacting games and everybody's forgetting about it. It does it every season, and every season it happens, and he will all of a sudden just come good and won't stop scoring for like 7 or 8 or 9 games or something like that, or assist. But like you said, he's already got 2 goals and 2 assists, and we're kind of forgetting about him. Is that a different result of the weekend if Sonny's playing? Yeah, is that a different result? Midweek as well. Is it more convincing? I don't know. Probably yes. But the reality is, he's our captain. He's still got the legs, in my opinion, and he deserves a shout, mate.
All right, so Sonny is next.
What number are we on?
We are on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So Sonny's number 7.
Cool.
Nice.
Which fits nicely. Number 8.
So I think Porro after
Yeah, it's got to be Pedro Porro, right? Anyone argue with that?
Super consistent, to be honest. Apart from Brighton again, when up against Matoma, I don't think he's had a really bad game.
No one can
I think the problem with that guy is the position he plays. He can never win. I mean, he's playing so highly advanced at times. I know we spoke about Man United, he was dropped back. That defenders like him and a Doggy, who's getting a real tough time at the moment. I know Doggy got a lot of criticism after Brighton, but you know, when you're asking these players to almost play up on the halfway line, if a defender gets in behind us, we are utterly screwed. So I feel it's a really hard position for Porro and a Doggy to play in general. So yeah, I probably would go with Porro.
His quality on the ball is just phenomenal, though, isn't it? Such a good passing range.
Unbelievable. Next up, in number 9, probably Cuti Romero.
Ooh.
I can't put Cuti in.
Or Bentancur.
Bentancur, yeah. I mean, I can't make a case for Cuti because there's been so many mistakes so far this season.
Udogi's like kind of been in growing into the season, but then a shocker against Brighton.
I think
we should have done this after Man United.
Yeah, I know.
Timo
for his Timo for his ability to miss 1-on-1 chances. What about that?
Oh,
Keep
God.
us on our toes. He doesn't want to make things too easy for us, does
Mackie,
he?
you're bringing up Werner. Do you want to be here till this evening?
I think maybe Bentancur. He's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Great against Brentford and Man United, albeit it wasn't great against Brighton. Although Basuma, he got a shout because he's been playing quite well.
I'd say Bentancur over Basuma.
So let's go Bentancur then. Where are we? Who we got left? Bentancur, maybe then Udogie?
Bentancur, Udogie or Basuma? Or Romero?
I can't vote for Romero this time round, I'll be honest, guys.
Pape Sarr, 2 goals in 2 in Europe.
Yeah, Pape Sarr maybe. I think if Brad Ennis.
Against Man United, didn't he?
Yeah.
Assist against United, didn't he? Pape
Yeah.
Sarr.
Well, you think Sarr over Udogie?
No, I think Udogie should go next, to be honest.
I think
Yeah.
probably Doggy, to be fair. It's just, again, it's linked, the couple of mistakes that he's made. Again, same with Romero in the last game. But, Romero's had some stellar performances as well during that, during the season. If you think about, clean sheet against Manchester United, that sort of thing, the high line still defending well. But, yeah, maybe a Doggy. Doggy's been playing very well, hasn't he? He was unlucky not to score, I think, a couple against Brentford.
Yeah, before the Brighton game, I thought he was looking back to his best. And then obviously Brighton happened, but I thought he was starting to look really, really good.
So after Udogie, I guess it's got to be Basuma or Sarr. It's got to be Basuma.
I actually think Basuma, since he came back into the team, was good. But obviously, he lost his. Bentancur's been starting a lot of games because he's been playing well and
Had a good game in Europe as well last week.
No, actually, Basuma got injured, didn't he? Because he was back in the team, then he got injured because Bentancur had the concussion thing. So it's a bit of a mixed team. But I think when he actually played Basuma,
He's been good.
He's been good against Everton. He was brilliant in the Europe. He's been pretty good. So didn't have not many problems with Basuma.
So the rest are more Lancashire, Davis, Sarr, Odebear, Spence, Forster, Romero, Werner, Bergvall, Gray, Richarlison, Basuma, Dragoshin. I think Basuma's been the best of that lot, hasn't he?
I would say
Definitely out of that
Basuma's
group. 100% out of that group.
So out of that group, this is just the fringe players next. So I guess out of the fringe, well, Romero's not fringe. Romero hasn't even been put in this. Romero has made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, he has made a lot of mistakes, but he needs to be put in kind of in and around here. You can't have him bottom of the league unless you're Timo Werner, right, as a fringe player.
I think Romero comes in for extra criticism, doesn't he? He just comes in for extra criticism because of the mistakes he makes. But what he brings to the team is like almost forgotten, like how the good things he does because of those lapses in concentration. But that comes with the territory of being a defender.
Yeah, maybe, but he also should probably warrant more criticism because he's a World Cup winner, he's 2 Copa America winner, he is that experienced guy, he's that leader guy, and there's no excuses for somebody you can make an excuse for a young person saying, oh, he's young, he's naive, he's got to learn. But Romero, I know Romero's not old, he's obviously 25, which is mental, but he's experienced enough in them situations not to go ball watching like he basically did against Brighton. I think that's what's great on Rick, isn't it? The fact that he just ball watched, but yeah, he's probably got, as a season overall, we're not just judging him on the second half of Brighton, are we? Some of the passes, the forward passes that he's been playing in their matches is the reason why we're on the front foot. He sets attacks up as well with that brilliant forward passing and that aggressiveness on the front foot as well. And he's a menace as well in the opposition box at the other end. So probably deserve. What number are we at, Ben?
So Basuma was 12. I think we'll just do a top 15 because I think it's a bit too much to go through all the 24 players because it's a bit unfair on some of these players because they've hardly played minutes. So we got to fit 3 more players in there, and we'll say Romero goes in 13.
Okay. What about Jed Spence?
So we got 2 more players out of Dragoshin, Richarlison, Gray, Bergvall, Werner, Forster, Spence, Odebear, Sarr, Davies, Lancashire, and Moore.
Spence and Sarr will be my final 2 because Sarr has obviously scored in the last couple of games and also assisted. And Spence, to be fair, I think Spence, I look at it, I think he's saved part of our season. If we go crashing out the Coventry game, I'm not sure you get the results that follow against Ferencváros and Man United. I think that goal was that big. That game was going and the feeling was going amongst the fan base that if Jed Spence does not score against Coventry, we crash out the cup. I don't know where we're going at that point.
And Spence came on at half time against United as well, didn't he? Spence.
He had a good performance,
Played
really
well.
good second performance, Spence, definitely.
But Sarr, who gets in ahead then, Sarr or Spence? Because I think Sarr has been he had to put in a few poor performances at the beginning, but he's been slowly been creeping into the season. 2 goals in a row in the European competition. Like you say, an assist against Manchester United as well. So I think it's probably Sarr, then Spence.
I agree. I'm with that.
Yeah.
All right, Sarr and Spence. So Werner's not on the list at all.
Werner's not on the list. Dragashin's not on the list. Gray, Moore, Davis.
Bergvall on the list.
Bergval's not on the list.
Yeah.
So let's run through the top 15. So you got Kulusevski at the top, Johnson, Van de Ven, Solanke, Maddison, Vicario, Sonny, Porro, Bentancur in 10th, then Udogie, Bissouma, Romero, Sarr, and Spence. So that's the power rankings.
Oh,
maybe we could keep this going weekly, and I'll keep this, and we can see who moves up and who moves down.
Oh,
I'll be really fascinated to see then how much that changes actually in the next international break between now and then. How that changes, that'll be fascinating.
Well, you know, for them to move up the rankings, essentially, what do you actually need them to be? What you want them, maybe a decade to stay up there, more goals, more assists to add to the performances that he's done. Maddison to control games a bit more. Son, when he comes back from injury, just get him, start scoring more goals. Then Romero, take out their mistakes. You know what I mean? So they've got a big opportunity. It's actually interesting when you rank it like that. Like I said before, we did that. I thought, actually, there's not many bad players that haven't bad. But then you look at it and you think, maybe Romero can get so much better, and actually Udogie can be much better, and Sarr could be much better. So we shouldn't be negative about that. We should be positive about that, in my opinion, because actually there's so much room for improvement. If everyone's at the top of their game and we're still losing to Brighton and still losing to Newcastle, then you've got to worry. Do you know what I mean? But actually, they're not at the top of the game, as we just talked about. So massive room for improvement, and it's up to the lads to put it in, isn't it, boys?
Yeah, and we've got so many players that we can see more of, like Bergval, Moore, and Gray, and who we've only seen like bits and pieces of so far. And then we got so much more to see from them.
So hopefully the next time we do the power rankings in a couple of weeks' time, some of these players that haven't been included in the top 15 can be promoted to the top 15 in the squad, and hopefully you got the likes of Romero, Spence, Sarr, all these players at the bottom make their way up to it. So I want to thank both of you guys for coming on today. I think we have run out of time. I think Ricky's got to go and I don't know what he's got to do, but get back to work probably in his day job. But
it's like serious. Yeah.
So big up to you guys. You will be seeing their faces a lot more on this channel. So I hope you like the content. Rick, do you want to tell us what's coming up on Last Word on Spurs for the rest of the week?
Yeah, like I say, likewise, guys. Looking forward to having you both on. Also, exchanging a favour after New Year. So looking forward to that, both of you guys. We've got Ali Gold in the house for this evening, so that'll be interesting.
Come on.
Ali's thoughts in terms of the season so far. And obviously then next week we'll be looking ahead to West Ham. So I think, as we know, kind of fixtures then come back thick and fast with the Europa League coming in. So yeah, it will be interesting. So like I say, guys, can't thank you enough. Always a pleasure coming on here, and looking forward really to doing more with you guys, because you guys are great at what you do, and we're blessed to be here. So thank you so much, and looking forward to more to come with hopefully better things to be talking about in the next coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I love the dynamic here. It's the dream team, guys. That's all I can say. But with Lee, anything you want to plug?
No, mate, just to plug Last One on Spurs. We are Tottenham TV. Absolutely love it. Content's outstanding. And just want to promote Tottenham winning something.
Come on,
please.
Come on, please.
Last word on Tottenham TV.
Last word on Tottenham TV. Lee, we saw Gary Mabbott a few weeks ago, and he guaranteed us that Sonny will be lifting a trophy for Tottenham this year. So we'll leave it on that note. We'll see you all very soon, guys. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining us throughout this hour and 15 minutes as of now. But like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.